Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the Harley Benton MS-60 VW Vintage Series guitar. Now this guitar, if you know offsets, is obviously paying homage to some Fender offsets, most obviously the Mustang. We have the MS in the name of this guitar after all, but there are also certain bits and pieces that you'll recognize from Fender Jazzmasters, from Jaguars, and also from other lesser known models like the Duosonic and the Musicmaster. But more about this guitar specifically then. Now this is my first personal foray into the offset world. I've played a bunch of different offset guitars before, and I decided to start with what I thought would be a fairly safe, very affordable bet. Now at time of filming, May 2021, you can get the MS-60 from Thomann for €149. So that's a very, very affordable price indeed. I went down the old second-hand market route and found it on the local eBay, no affiliation, in the region of Germany close to me here, and I got it for less than half of that price. Now the guy that I bought this guitar from said that he'd had it from new, and he said that he hadn't done any mods to it whatsoever, but when I tell you about the specs, we'll see that definitely something has been done to this guitar. But I paid about €70 for this, so that's incredible value for money, and my expectations were low as I bought it. I'm not going to lie, you know, guitars with bridges and vibrato systems like this are not renowned for their tuning stability, for example. Pickups in offset guitars are also not known for their richness and warmth of tone, and in fact this kind of guitar is more known among indie rockers and alternative rockers. I think the most famous player to play a Mustang type guitar was Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. Other players off the top of my head who played guitars like this would be Omar Rodriguez-Lopez from At the Drive-In and the Mars Volta. At the Drive-In being one of my very favourite bands when I was a bit younger. Matt Healy from the 1975, one of the biggest indie pop rock bands around right now, plays one of these. And of course Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth has played offset Fenders for decades and decades now. But a little bit more about the MS-60 then, and then we'll hear some sounds. So we've got a basswood body here. We've got this vintage white finish, which I think is quite tasteful actually. It's almost cream, and I hope you can see the colour there, but it's vintage white, and we've got a pearloid scratch plate here. Let me just move up to the neck, and I'll twist it round as well. Now the neck is maple, and the fingerboard is amaranth, which is one of the more cheaper alternatives to rosewood, I would say. Here we've got the Harley Benton headstock. We've got 6 inline tuners, as you would expect for this kind of guitar. This is one of the bits where I have definitely got a modified version of this guitar, because the guy who sold it to me, as I said it was totally stock, but there are Kluson tuners on this, and you would not get that from Thomann. If you bought this guitar new, you would get no name Harley Benton tuners. So I've got Klusons here, and I'm pretty sure that's going to provide an advantage when we come to play it. Now the nut is graphite, and the other difference between offsets and normal guitars is the scale length. That's the length of the neck effectively, and the scale length on this guitar is 610 millimeters. On a more standard Telecaster, Stratocaster or Les Paul, it would be up closer to 628 millimeters or there and thereabouts. So it's only a couple of centimeters, less than an inch in difference, but you do notice it when you play the guitar. If you jump from a Tele or a Strat straight to this, you can feel that the net feels a little bit smaller. The body is also a little bit smaller, and that's why a lot of people would say that these are great student guitars, or even the first guitar for a child to start learning on. Now the frets themselves here, we've got 22 of them. They feel pretty big. I don't know what size they are. There's no mention of that on the Thomann website, but I think they're probably medium jumbo, pretty standard. Nice and smooth here, no rough edges or anything like that. Amaranth fretboard, as I said. We've got dot fret markers there. Moving down to the body, we've got 2 single coil Roswell pickups, and you turn the pickups on and off by these 2-way sliders here. So on, off, on, off, on. We've got a single volume and tone control, a Tune-o-matic style bridge, and this is the whammy vibrato system, and this is what gives these offset guitars so much of their personality for some players. This is something that I personally don't have much experience with, the wiggle stick, as some people call it, but I'm going to do a couple of riffs that feature it, and we'll see how it sounds. Back of the body there, you can see that we've got a nice tummy cut, which is very comfortable indeed when playing the guitar standing or sitting. There's no neck dive on the guitar, so put it on a strap and it sits very nicely. It's nice and lightweight overall. I haven't weighed it, but I'd say it's about probably 7 pounds, 2.5, 3 kilograms. Very nice and easy to hold, would not be a problem to gig with whatsoever. But now let me stop talking and let's start playing. So I'm going to do a bunch of different sounds. As you know from my channel, we'll do some clean stuff, some indie stuff. I'll try classic rock and some alternative rock. We'll throw in a pop punk riff or two, and we'll even try some drop D heavy stuff at the end. Now I'm going to use my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 head. I'll be on the clean channel of the amp for the whole time. I'll use my Wampler Pantheon overdrive pedal for some light crunch and some medium crunch, and I'll use the Revv G3 for the more heavy metal stuff towards the end. And I'm going to do a couple of atmospheric riffs in this demo too, because a lot of players who play offsets play atmospheric stuff. So I've got my source audio, delay and reverb collider pedal for those parts. So enough talking, let's play the Harley Benton MS-60 Vintage Series offset electric guitar now, and we'll speak in more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so we've just been listening to the Harley Benton MS-60 and I hope you enjoyed the tones and the variety of sounds that I was able to get with the guitar, because actually this instrument is way more versatile than I originally gave it credit for, and I think probably a lot of you watching would have given it credit for as well. When I think of offsets, and I guess when a lot of us think of offsets, we do think about those iconic players who've used them, like Kurt Cobain and Thurston Moore, and we think about the genres that they played, and we think about that kind of sound and pigeonhole these guitars slightly. Certainly if you're playing standard genres of music, you'd pick up a Tele or a Strat or a Les Paul over one of these, I think 99 times out of 100, and you'd reserve offsets, at least in your thinking, for dirty indie rock sounds and grungy tones and weird alternative rock and a bunch of different strange effects and that kind of thing. But this guitar can do a lot more than that as well. Now we'll start with the sounds then. So the two Roswell pickups I was pleasantly surprised with. I do think that the bridge pickup is fairly weedy. It's quite bright and brittle sounding too, so this is definitely something I would consider upgrading in the future. And with benefit of a better setup than I could do on the guitar, it might also be improved. This pickup is quite far away from the strings. I couldn't get it any higher, so I'm going to have to go into the guitar to get that sorted out. But it has a much lower output than the neck pickup there, and you can hear that when I switch between the pickups. The neck pickup is much meatier and the volume drops when you select both pickups together or just the bridge. However, I think that both of the pickups together and on the neck pickup as well, you can get some very nice clean sounds, and it almost goes into Stratocaster territory. It's a lot more standard than you would imagine from this kind of guitar. Some of the clean sounds that I played for the indie stuff and the poppy sort of jobs, they were just nice sounding tones, and if you listen to them with your eyes closed, I don't think you would say that I was playing one of these rather unusual offset guitars. Now when we pushed up the gain a little bit more, you could tell that it started to get a bit more traditional offsetty. We got those kind of buzz cutty sort of tones on the bridge pickup. We got some nice pushed rock sounds. We even got some classic rock tones that were not too bad. With the atmospheric tones as well, I think that the neck pickup did a very good job of filling everything out. It was a nice pleasant tone to my ears anyway. And when we went up to the metal stuff and went down to drop D and used the bridge pickup exclusively, I thought the pickup handled it surprisingly well. Now the Revv G3 pedal is an absolutely excellent pedal, and it makes every guitar, every amp I've plugged it into sound like the purple channel on a Revv generator amp, but it just worked with this guitar. I mean, this is obviously not a guitar that you would be playing lots of heavy down-tuned metal with, but it works and it did the job in that sense. So on the sounds front, very, very good indeed. And when I consider again the price of this guitar new and the price that I paid for it secondhand, wow, very, very impressed. So let's come to the build quality and the hardware then. Now this is a little bit trickier for me to estimate for you guys because this guitar was used when I got it, and despite what the previous owner told me, has had a couple of modifications, but I have nothing major to complain about here. Now the frets are always something that you would expect to be a little rough on a cheap, affordable guitar. No problems here whatsoever, everything is nice and smooth. The frets themselves have been well crowned, well polished, and when playing the guitar I'm not noticing any notes fluffing out when I play them or bending notes or anything like that. No dead spots on the guitar. So the nut has been nicely cut. It's a graphite nut, by the way, in case I forgot to mention that in the intro. And of course, the previous owner or a previous owner has put Kluson tuners on there, which I suspect will have been a necessary upgrade to keep this guitar stably in tune. Now, the hardware on the guitar itself is all totally fine. We've got no name stuff here apart from the Roswell pickups. The Tune-o-matic bridge did the job. The whammy vibrato is actually surprisingly good. I've had a lot of fun playing with this and getting to know it a little bit. It's not something I've really done much before, but it really sounds good just to wobble chords and let them ring out at the end. And the guitar stayed in tune the whole time I was recording the video. Now, I was playing for about an hour in total, and I only tuned it once to go down to drop D, and that was it. And I did bend and abuse the whammy just a little bit, and it stayed in tune the whole time. I suspect that if you get this guitar new from the factory, that won't be the case, and you probably will have to have the nut looked at, the setup done, and have the tuners sorted out. But I'm not certain. So if anyone has actually bought this guitar new and has different experiences there, please write that for me in the comments. I would be very interested to hear what you have to say about that. Now, the volume and tone control here, we've got one of each. Did their job absolutely perfectly, not crackly at all. I did notice that they're quite hard to turn. So if you are looking to do kind of quick volume adjustments on the fly in a live gig or anything like that, this would not be something for you. They're not very precise and quick to turn. Now here we've got the two sliders, and I think this is something unique to offset guitars pretty much. I would prefer, I think, on this guitar just to have a standard pickup selector switch, a three-way selector to move between either the neck and the bridge pickup or both pickups together. On this slider setting you have two different options per slider, and they've obviously done this, Harley Benton, because on some Fender offset guitars you have sliders that control the pickups, but on the Fenders they give you different options. So for example, you'll have a three-way slider that might offer you pickup off or on, or different phase settings, or pickups in parallel, or something like that. Extra options that you don't have here, and because of that I just feel like these sliders are not really necessary. They look kind of cool, but I'd have appreciated a standard switch, probably down here, just to move between the pickups a bit easier. That brings me to the playability as well then. I found this guitar a lot more fun and easy to play than I expected it to be honest with you, when I first got it. Now, the neck on this guitar is not as thin as you would expect. It's a shorter scale length than a standard guitar, so you might have to get used to that if you come from standard electrics. But the neck thickness itself, the profile, it's quite a nice little modern C sort of a chunk. It's certainly not a super skinny neck. Very comfortable to play. I really like the satin finish on the back of the maple neck. Really was fun. What more can I say? It's a neck that inspired me to carry on playing, so no issues there. Also on the playability side, of course, you may run into issues if you've got tuning stability problems, but no issues for me there whatsoever. Again, your mileage may vary if you own this guitar and haven't had it set up or have just the standard parts on it. When it comes to what you pay versus what you get then, I would say that this guitar is excellent value for money. Now, at time of filming, May 2021, it's 150 euros new from Thomann in Europe, 120 pounds in the UK, and I think about $180 plus shipping for places like America, and that is exceptional value for money. You won't get much in the similar sort of ballpark that can offer you this kind of specifications and this kind of playing experience. This guitar doesn't feel like a toy at all. It feels like a well thought out, genuine instrument. And although it does have its weaknesses and it's not going to be the best playing guitar you're ever going to get, for the price that you pay, I think you will struggle to find something superior to this model. Of course, you can pay more and get better, and there are different levels of options that you can go for with Harley Benton, with different brands, and with Fender themselves to get better quality parts, better woods, and a better overall playing experience. But this, for 150 euros, gets my vote, absolutely. It was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to anyone who's looking for something like this. But that's actually another interesting question. Who is this guitar really for? Now, I wouldn't say that this is a guitar I would give to a beginner guitarist. If you're just starting out on your electric guitar journey, I would probably only recommend this one if you're absolutely set on getting an offset instrument. If that's your thing and you absolutely want to have an offset guitar, this is one you would consider. But if you're looking for your first electric and you want to cover more ground than what you would expect from an offset, if you want to play classic pop and a bit of jazz and a bit of other stuff, I would probably recommend looking at a Telecaster type model or a Strat or a Les Paul, and then considering this later. And so actually in that context, I would say that this is actually the perfect first offset for a guitar player like me who has the other instruments and wants to move into this offset niche of guitars. I mean, I could have paid more for something else. There is a lot of competition out there in the offset world, but this to start with, and this one popping up for me secondhand in my local area, was absolutely perfect for me. And I know what I like about this guitar, I know what I don't like so much about this guitar, and I know what I would consider getting from a future offset purchase. So what are the other options out there then? Well, for this price, you'll be hard pushed to find anything new. The only thing that I could really find, which is a full-sized, proper, genuine instrument, would be the Squier Bullet Mustangs. Now, they have a similar sort of a body shape, but they have two humbuckers and they also have a hardtail bridge, so no whammy bar action with those. So those will give you more heavy rock sounds as well. Otherwise, I think specs wise, they're fairly similar to this guitar. I've played a couple in stores and they feel good. The difference between the two guitars, I would say, is that this guitar has an Amaranth fretboard and the Squiers have Indian Laurel. So if it comes down to preference there, that might help you shape your decision. You might also be someone who prefers to have the name of Squier on the headstock as opposed to Harley Benton, and that might help you make your choice too. But they're roughly a similar sort of price. There is in fact a Bullet Mustang for 130 euros available at time of filming, and there's another one with a super cool racing stripe for 160. So you pay your money and you take your choice in that regard. Now, if you want to step up the quality, or if you want to change things a little bit and get something a little bit more boutique looking, but still at an affordable price, there is a Harley Benton JA60 model, which is more of a Jazzmaster copy, homage, call it what you will, and that has P90 pickups and a few different options compared to this guitar. There are other brands making nice offset instruments. I mean, you will be paying probably double what you would for this guitar, but take a look, for example, at the Vintage V65. That's a very nice 2 P90 equipped offset. I'm really looking forward to trying one of those at some point. And as a wild card, I'd throw in the Danelectro 67 model, which is a pretty cool offset guitar with the Danelectro lipstick single coil pickups. Now, in terms of Squier guitars, you've got the classic Vibes, which cost about 350 to 400 euros. You've also got the newer Affinity models, which cost about 350 euros, and then it goes up from there. So you've also got Squier Contemporary, then you move up to the Fender Player models, and then you move up and up and up to custom shop and genuine old vintage offsets, which will set you back 4,000 or 5,000 euros or dollars. There's a bunch of different offset options out there, and I think there's something for every budget, taste, and style. So overall then, I think I've waffled on for quite a long time, but at the end of the day, I would say that for 115 euros new, this is a very good guitar for the money. Don't expect to get an amazing playing custom shop type of guitar for this kind of price. You're simply not going to get it. This is an affordable beginner's market instrument. It's not going to give you something of the quality that was built in America or built in Japan or something like that. But for what it is an excellent value for money guitar, and I would absolutely mostly recommend it for someone like me who's got a bunch of different other instruments in the more standard vein and want to move into offset territory. So have a look at it if you're interested in offset guitars. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying the Rich Words Music channel. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed yet, please do, because I would like to get this channel to be a little bit bigger if I can over the coming months and years. There's a lot more videos to come your way as well. Stuff about guitars is coming, stuff about pedals, stuff about amps and other gear, and I've also got some pretty cool interviews coming up with some interesting and cool people from the music instrument industry. But that's been it for today. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.